Welcome to the CUFI Weekly. My name is Kasim Hafeez and I'm your host. Okay, so interesting week. Got two things I want to touch on. One, kind of pressing, and two, a bit of a teaser of what we got to come in the following week. So you may or may not have read this week that a US court has charged 4 Iranians with trying to kidnap an American-based journalist who is of Iranian descent, who is a critic of the regime. And it's interesting to me as this hasn't really, it's been reported, but there hasn't been the outrage or the shock at this. Like, let's play this out. A group of Iranian intelligence officers came to the United States and planned to kidnap an American Iranian journalist who is a critic of the regime in Tehran, take her to Venezuela, and then transport her to Iran. And if you look at what happened the last time somebody was kidnapped by Iranian intelligence officials, they were executed. Iran is going to great lengths to silence any criticism of the regime. We've seen that in Iran, of course. We've seen it in Europe, and now in the United States. But this is insane to me. There is no respect, one, for US sovereignty, and two, there seems to be no concern of US repercussions. Are we not the world's only superpower? Are we not one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful nation on earth? Yet Iran, which for decades has chanted death to America, death to Israel, who has really been in a proxy war with us, has been firing rockets through their proxies at US troops in Iraq and Syria, is now trying to kidnap essentially an American from American soil in New York. Like, this is outrageous. But again, I think a precedent has been set. A couple of years ago, the Cafe Milano plot, when Iranian officials, Iranian agents, were responsible for an attempted killing of the Saudi ambassador in Washington, D.C. at Cafe Milano. There are recorded telephone conversations of this when their, I guess their asset in the United States, Arbabziar, talks about there will be mass casualties if he blows up the Cafe Milano, and essentially the Iranians are going, that's fine. Iran were planning on, one, carrying out a terrorist attack in our nation's capital, and two, they were trying to murder the ambassador of a foreign country, Saudi Arabia, on US soil. I mean, this is so many levels just the most heinous violation of international law and norms, yet there were no repercussions. Arbabziar, the guy really facilitating the plot in the United States, who was I believe a used car salesman of Iranian origin, he went to prison, but Iran got away scot-free. And what is even more troubling to me, even with this plot to kidnap a journalist on US soil, the administration has said that they still plan to continue talks to get back to the Iran nuclear deal. It seems to me, what can Iran get away with at this point? Like, surely they must be looking at this and going, we can literally do anything, and there is still this clamor to get back into the Iran nuclear deal. It's terrifying, and for me, as somebody who loves the United States, who loves this country and is very proud of it, that we are almost losing our own dignity in the hope of trying to appease this incredibly evil regime, which is happy and takes great pleasure in terrorizing any critics of the regime at home or abroad. Now, moving on slightly from that, so this week we had our CUFI Leadership Summit in Dallas. We had some incredible speakers, and next week on the CUFI Weekly, you'll get a, let's say, behind the scenes insight into that. CUFI is doing incredible things. In 2020, it was a challenging year for all of us, but CUFI got stronger, our membership grew, and we were educating and inspiring more people than ever. And you're going to get a behind-the-scenes look at that with our Leadership Summit. So, until next week, and our special on the CUFI Leadership Summit, God bless you. For Zion's sake, do not remain silent. This is Kasim Hafeez for the CUFI Weekly. Thanks for checking out today's episode of CUFI Weekly. If you enjoyed this episode and want to stay up to date with the latest news from the Middle East, along with topics involving US-Israel relations, please be sure to like and subscribe. And remember to click that notification button so that you are notified every time a new show is uploaded.